And we welcome to the show, we welcome him himself, Mark Penn, pollster, chairman, and CEO of Stagwell. That's the Harvard-Harris poll, Mark Penn. And our great pal, Reince Priebus, Fox News political analyst, former chief of staff to President Trump and head of the Republican National Committee. Mark Penn, so this is a good poll, all right? I would have said that. I've always said it's a good poll. You may not agree with me all the time. But the numbers you have put out here are, I think I'll call them startling, Mark. You can tell me I'm wrong, but they're so different from most of the other polls sponsored by the media anyway. And they're very encouraging for the Republican Party. So give us some context. How do you see your own poll?
I think you're an excellent reader of our poll, to be honest. You really did get the... You know, American public opinion is not obvious. It is subtle. There's a lot of things going on in people's minds. And what you really get out of the poll is, look, they're not happy with the economy. They think it should be better. They think it's shrinking. They think that inflation is higher than 3%. They actually are much more negative on the economy than the economy is. But they are more unhappy with the Democrats, who seem to be, well, crazier and crazier in some ways. And as you can see, they think the Democrats are for open borders. They think the Democrats have gotten way out of the mainstream. So even though there is unhappiness, and usually that's bad for those who are in, what this poll shows, when it comes to the economy, they still think the Democrats would be worse. And that's the most important finding for the Republicans if they can sustain that to the midterm elections. And this is a divided country. It was a divided country. It remains a divided country. And finally, I will add, you are right. There is a lot more support underlying the president's actions in Iran than you see in any of the papers.
That's a key point. Reince, I'm coming to you in 1 second, buddy. Just hang on 1 second. Mark, I thought, to some extent, the most startling information results from your poll was the support for Iran. And I have been here, look, I make no bones about it. I am a supporter of what President Trump is doing to rid us of the most gruesome Nazi-like regime in 100 years, perhaps, Iran, and so forth. But I've always believed Americans agree. Nobody likes Iran. Nobody wants them to have a nuclear weapon. Nobody hates Israel the way Democrats seem to hate Israel. But I think your numbers are you're in the 70 percentile favorability on Iran. And I think that's news. And that's why I wanted to talk about it some more this evening.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. Look, the Iran favorable, I think, is 9%. And I think that people underestimate the fact that people do see Iran as an evil regime, do think that the president has to stop their nuclear capabilities, reduce their ballistic missile capabilities, get them to recognize Israel. Look, I think they all said 70 or 80% of the people in the poll said the president should not stop until he gets these things from Iran. Now, Americans don't like war, but they don't like Iran. And although they would prefer no war, they are saying, now that you've come this far, Mr. President, please finish the job.
Yeah, there you go. Reince Priebus wanted to get your take on this poll. And I think, Reince, this doesn't leave Republicans off the hook. They've got a lot of work to do to carry the midterms. I understand that, particularly on the economy, where I'd like to see them, you know, have a broad-based package, cut taxes, waste, fraud, and abuse, and so forth and so on. But the results from the Mark Penn poll, the Harvard-Harris poll, I think are a wake-up call. I don't know whether it's the country probably knows it. It's a wake-up call to Democrats. It may be a wake-up call to many people who have assumed, for whatever reason, that the U.S. is not doing well, that this Iranian action is unpopular. It's not. People support this, and they hate Iran, Reince, and that's got to amount to something.
Well, I think it's a remarkable poll. I do think it shows what the president, in particular James Blair, sort of highlighted. He's running the campaign on the outside now. He sort of highlighted this whole concept that, you know, you can try to measure how do you feel about Trump on this issue or that issue, but when you put President Trump against the alternative, people look at that and say, well, wait a minute. I don't know if I like that alternative very much. And the other thing it highlights to me, if I had to write a book about the politics and races over the last 10 years, Mark might agree with me. The title of my book would be Nothing Makes Sense, because the reality is everything we've been told was going to happen didn't happen. In 2016, Hillary's going to win, didn't happen. 2020, it was going to be a blowout by Biden, didn't happen. 2022, we were going to have a red wave, remember that? It didn't happen. 24, Trump was going to lose or it was going to be close. It wasn't close. So the reality is this highlights the fact that there are so few seats that are actually in play that this gives you a general view of where we are, but we've got 15 to 20 seats in the House that are in play. That's it. And in those seats, only about 2,000 votes in each of those seats are in play. We are talking about taking $1.5 billion and dumping it on the heads of 2,000 people in 15 seats, and we're going to see what happens. And last very short point. I think like every race, there is going to be a moment. There is going to be a cycle moment. It could be an economic shift. It could be a domestic moment. It could be a foreign policy moment. We don't know what that moment is, but what we do know is, regardless of what the media says, it's going to be close one way or the other.
You know what, though, Reince? I know you're right. Look, you have the wisdom. You ran the Republican National Committee, for heaven's sakes, and you ran the White House staff, chief of staff. So you know lots of things, and experience matters. But I would tell you, in my gut, I've been saying this for weeks and weeks. I believe that we will convincingly destroy Iran and win the war, quote unquote, win the war. But it'll be convincing. And I felt, and Mark, I want you to weigh in too. I felt that the country would cheer it. And when the dust clears and, distractions like the temporary blip in gasoline prices, which will only be temporary, when all that dust clears and people look at what Trump has done, they will see it for what it is, which was a history-making, history-changing, balance of power shifting, destruction of a very evil country. And we'll give him credit and give him his party credit for staying with him on this. And you know what? The Democrats will be punished for this because they have been so, with the exception of a Fetterman, okay, and maybe one or two others, they have been so anti-Trump, anti-war in Iran, anti-Israel. They're going to be punished for this because that's not where America is, Reince. And that could, I don't know if there's ever such a thing as a landslide anymore, but I'll tell you, if there's an unknown, if there's a known unknown, to use Mr. Rumsfeld's phrase, that's it. I'm going to want you both to have the last word. Go ahead, Reince.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the Democrats are cheering for our defeat. They better be careful what they cheer for, because it's just going to highlight the fact that, look, the president has done remarkably well out there, especially in foreign policy. And I think Mark was right, and you're right, Larry, that there's no way the president is going to settle. And I think Peter Doocy is the one that said that. That he's not going to settle for a crappy deal, because the president knows that if this turns out the way that they see it turning out, you're right. This is going to be the cycle moment when Iran can't get a weapon, they're thoroughly defeated, and all the highlights of our opponents are going to be out there for everybody to see. I think it's going to be a big deal.
Mark Penn, I'm going to give you the last word. We've started the month of May. Maybe the hostilities go another month or so. I'm not smart enough to know, but I think we're coming down the home stretch in this war. I think it's a resounding victory for Mr. Trump and shows his wisdom and his backbone, doing what no other recent president would do from either party. I think this is, I'll use Mr. Rumsfeld's term, this is a known unknown, but this may be a heck of an unknown in the midterm elections, Mark Penn.
Well, look, I think the president's got 3 chessboards going at once. He's got the military board, he's got the negotiation board, and he's got the economic warfare board. I think he started with 1, the military board. He shifted to 2 and 3. I don't know whether 2 and 3 are going to do it. He's ready to go back to one military work if it doesn't. He's told that to Iran. And I think the important thing here is if he does not stop and he figures out a solution here, and nobody thought anybody could get the hostages out. So he has done the undoable. If he does do that, I agree with you. I think that chain flips around in terms of an issue. I think gas prices come down quickly. I think the country has a victory, and this is a country looking for things to be optimistic about.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Look, my view, with all humility, I don't know either. I don't know either. You guys are better at this political stuff than I am. I just sometimes have a hunch, and sometimes I just rely on what I think is the goodwill and the goodness of the American people. They know the difference between right and wrong, even if some politicians may not. Mark Penn, thank you. Congratulations on the Harvard-Harris poll. I'm not going to ask you even for a cut of the money for that poll after advertising it so well on my show. And Reince Priebus, you are the best of the best. You always have been.
It's a nonprofit.
And thank you, Reince, for
Thank
your
you, Larry.
wisdom, as always. Take care. All right, now for more on